estate pass you by with All-Star Powerhouse.
Good morning and happy Christmas week to everybody. Have you been naughty or nice? I wonder. What do you think, Randy? Have you been naughty or nice?
I've been nice. Nice. I don't need any coal in my stocking.
Let's hope everybody's been nice, and then you'll get nice prezzies.
There you go.
We get to a certain age, though, right, when we've been buying our stuff, especially guys, like, they buy socks and T-shirts throughout the year that they need.
Amazon, it comes to your front door.
Yeah. It must be even worse now we've got Amazon, because now you get the socks and the T-shirts and all that stuff that you need. And
yeah.
then
so what do you
get for presents?
Yeah.
You get a sweater.
I like it.
Yeah.
An ugly Christmas sweater.
Yeah. So, exciting show today. Well, I'm very excited. We're talking all about AI, and is it taking over the world, and what do we need to be scared of? Gosh.
Artificial intelligence.
Yeah, and we've got questions. We've done a lot of background work this week. We've got questions from DC, New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, San Francisco, Miami, Seattle, Houston, Boston, and Atlanta. So we'll be reading all your questions, so get ready for that. If you'd like me to read your question, go to Rowena Patton on Facebook. Look me up. Just go on that post and post your questions below, and every 10 minutes or so, I will check this morning, and I will read your question. And we should say good morning to Todd Phillips.
Well, good morning.
How are you, Todd? So you're something of an expert in this business. How long have you been working in AI?
Oh, gosh. I've been interested in working with AI for at least 8 years.
Oh, you don't work in it. You work with it.
I work with AI.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait here. Can we just jump right into the first question? Bob from DC. So he asked, why do these bots sound so real? It's a bit creepy. It is a bit creepy.
Wow, well, yeah. So, yeah, it sure is. You know, people, the more and more we advance with AI, and especially in verbal ability, the ability to interact with human beings, probably in the last 90 days, it's just been that quick. We've gone from very clunky, very difficult to understand and interact with, to almost human-like in AI's ability to interact with us real time. It's really astonishing. Some people get very scared by that, and I certainly understand those feelings. I tend to be a bit more optimistic. I think the more capable AI becomes in communication with human beings, the more we're going to accomplish with AI.
Well, and I'll give a quick run through of the questions today, just so that if anybody wants to go on and look at Rowena Patton, if you have any questions, this will give you kind of flavor of the questions we're going to be asking Todd today. So we've got Bob from DC said, why did these bots sound so real? It's a bit creepy. We've got Alice from New York wondering, can they speak like us? Ooh. Charlie from Los Angeles is asking, and he's talking about AI in our daily conversations. Are they easy to understand, or is it like, this is funny, is it like getting help from your bank down the road on the phone with somebody in India? We've got Emma from Chicago who asked, will robots kill all of our jobs? Oh my goodness. David from San Francisco is questioning, what role will AI play in healthcare? Seems like it's a big old database that might just do a better job than doctors. Especially now, you never even get to see a doc. I guess he's talking about the fact you usually get into a PA or something else, or, I don't know, you see them on Zoom or something now. We've got Grace from Miami asking, how will AI affect, just so you're not on the hot seat here, Todd, and you know what the questions are. Grace from Miami asks, how will AI affect the education system? Will our kids be taught by bots? Online stuff was so bad in COVID, and we're going to go through these one by one. James from Seattle is exploring, the big question, is AI taking over the world? That's what we started up with today. Olivia from Houston wonders, and she's talking about in our personal lives. Oh, I love this one. Will it take over dating? Do they make a good companion? Can I have a bot boyfriend that chats with me on the phone? Ethan from Boston asks, what will AI do in the future of work? That's interesting. Sophie from Atlanta raises concerns. What are the ethical considerations with bots, and will they destroy human beings one day? I mean, these are real fears, right? Let's go back to Bob. Why do they sound so real? It's a bit creepy. You let me hear one the other day, Todd, and it was amazing. So, and they can have all kinds of voices. You can even make it your voice now. And they're conversational, right? They really do sound real.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, as I do interviews like this about AI, one of the things that I find myself doing, because I've worked with it for so long, is kind of, just assuming everyone has some kind of a clear picture of what it is. You know, what I want to do before we get into these questions is give a little bit of background so that we're kind of all on the same page. You know, all of us have a 30,000-foot view of exactly, or at least close to what exactly we have with AI. And it really comes down to this simple definition that I talk about a lot. It's the development of computer systems that are able to perform tasks at a human level, normally that would require human beings and now no longer requires human beings. And that really helps people understand, hopefully, exactly what we're talking about, because this is a tectonic shift in our culture, not just the economy, relationships, based on the questions you were just showing us, but it's really an overarching reality, just like the internet, but even more dramatic, right? None of us can imagine doing our jobs, for example, without a cell phone, doing our jobs without connection to the internet. How long would you last in your job if you had neither one of those?
Are you old enough to remember when we didn't have cell phones, Todd?
Oh, yes, I do. I remember the dial-up phones, connected to the wall. And I was so excited when it went from rotary phones to push button, right?
Yes.
It was just crazy times.
Yes.
But when I talk about this, and this is not to scare people, it's to help people understand and educate people on the reality of what we're going to see in the next, not just years, but months. The final frontier is AI, I always say. We're going to see more change, Ro, in the next 60 months. In the human condition, we're going to see more change in the next 60 months than we have in our entire lifetimes, the last century of change. And all of us know the massive amount of changes that we've seen in the last 100 years.
Yes.
That'll happen again in the next 60 months. And I believe when we're talking, whether it's realtors, doctors, whatever it is, that the next 24 to 36 months is the most important span of time in the life of a person's business or their profession. Mm-hmm. I can't stress that more.
Wow.
So that's the kind of thing we're talking about. And some of the quotes from, I would say, the greatest thinkers in AI right now, Sundar Pichai, he's the Google CEO, right? So he's not a fly-by-night guy. He said, if you think about fire, now listen to this, Ro, it's crazy. He said, if you think about fire, electricity, or the internet, he says AI is more profound.
Whoa.
So that's an astonishing statement.
Yes.
All right, so it's
people don't fully understand.
It's true. So what I'm concerned about here is there's already people shutting off because it all sounds so scary. So I want you to really elaborate on a lot of this, but let's go down on some of the direct questions they've asked you. We've got, and just remember, guys, go onto Facebook, look at Rowena Patton, ROWENA PATTON. I've got the post on there. I'm looking for your questions. We'll read everybody's we've got so far that we went through at the top of this. Todd is obviously going to elaborate at length and give us a 60,000-foot view of what's going on here. But you've got some, really straightforward questions. So Alice from New York is wondering, can they speak like us? Oh, my gosh, I've heard one. And what I'll do, Todd, is I'll go ahead and below our posts, I will, if you can send me a recording of one, I'm sure you haven't got one live you can play us today. That would be awesome. We'll bring that maybe into next week's show so people can hear what they sound like an interview with one to see what they really sound like. But I'll post, if you can send me a recording, maybe the one we did the other day, I will post that and people can listen to it because it's amazing. It really does sound like us.
That's great.
And all the different voices you have. And, of course, you can actually take somebody's actual voice and make them sound like the bot, correct?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it's quite amazing that they're almost indistinguishable from a human voice and the ability to reply or converse in real time. So one of the things we're finding with AI is that, just to give you an example of the bots that we use in our real estate marketing company, we are engaging with multiple AIs and bringing them all together strategically from a technological perspective to be able to create voices that are pleasing to the ear. We've got a young male voice. We have a young American female voice. We have an older British voice. And we actually are able to take those voices, use them in our marketing company with real estate agents, and decide statistically which one is working better. And we've got to the point where we can get a percentage of comparative benefit, right? So this voice is working better than that one, and this one is better than that one. And we can change those voices at will. And they sound exactly like a human being. They are indistinguishable from the conversation we're having.
Can we make one with my voice, Todd? Would you like to use my voice and you can use it on your platform?
Yeah, we can. They're a little bit more involved when we're talking about interactive voice bots.
I'm sure.
But Ro, here's the deal. Anyone can go right now to several websites. Several companies are doing this. 11 Labs is one that we use. 11 Labs. You can go in there and just give a sample of your voice. No longer than 6 seconds, Ro. They need 6 seconds of your voice, and they can clone your voice, and you can type in anything you want, and that voice will speak in exactly the way that you do.
Wow. That's amazing.
In all these years of radio, we've always said, and I remember the rotary phone too, Todd, but in all these years of radio, we've always said that one of these days, well, I think it's here.
You know what's interesting? We could do a whole radio show with me as the bot.
There's a radio station programming right now. Nobody, it's AI.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's choosing, and also, you know, you have the technology now that can choose the music that people want to listen to.
Oh, it's all researched.
So it's so interesting in live time as well. And hey, tell me, if you're listening today, tell me what you think about me doing a whole radio show as a bot. And would it sound like me? Go to Rowena Patton on Facebook. You'll see the post right at the top there on my profile, and let me know if you'd like to hear a whole radio show with me as a bot. I guess the thing is, you can take out any of the sneezes, things that, you know, where you lose track and go down the left field. Now, the only thing I'd say about that is I think about what the internet did to newspapers. So, you know, you used to pick up do you remember old-fashioned newspapers, Todd?
Yes, I do.
Did you ever sit at a cafe in Paris, drinking a lovely little cup of coffee, flicking through the newspaper? I mean, that's a nice vision, isn't it? But when you read through a newspaper, you would land on things that caught your eye. And it might not be something that you're exposed to on a daily basis, or you know, okay, so some people just look for the obituaries, or some people just look for, you know, the cartoons or something. But as you flick through a newspaper, you do go page to page. You don't just go to page 16 and look for what you're looking for. The difference in internet news is it feeds you what it thinks you want, which means, especially for young minds, their minds aren't formed yet and they haven't explored things. I mean, half of them are writing their essays and doing tests using ChatGPT, where it writes it for them. So your brain's not being expanded by all those things that you're not likely to see. I know I've done radio. Randy will testify to this. I've definitely done shows where I go off left field. I think I'm doing that right now, actually. And the great thing and the dangerous thing about a bot is that it wouldn't necessarily do that. You know, I know they're conversational, but it won't sort of use its brain to go somewhere that the person who's listening might actually go into. What do you think about that?
Well, actually, the bots are very similar now in just that way. The bots are just a utilization of AI. So the more conversational they get with us, the more they are able to actually draw into our emotions, our thoughts, our preferences, just like social media and AI and social media does. So the more we interact with bots, and this is what people I don't think understand fully. The negative feedback are positive, but mostly negative feedback loops that come with news and AI that pushes you toward what you already believe, right? It creates and connects you with stuff you already believe. So it doesn't in large part allow critical thinking, and it makes it more challenging. And what you were saying about the youth is just that. They don't know how to discern, which I would argue many adults don't, but they don't know how to discern or understand the fact that AI is driving the way that they are thinking by that feedback loop, right? And so that's one of the biggest challenges.
I can see that. I can see that. Are you ready for another question?
Sure.
Todd's in the hot seat. So Charlie from LA inquires, and he's talking about AI in our daily conversations. Are they easy to understand, or is it like getting help from your bank down the road on the phone with somebody in India? You all know what we mean by that. Everybody got very tired, I think, over probably the last 20 years of calling into a help desk and being farmed out to, gosh, the company's charged $6 an hour, so these people are probably being paid $2 or $3 an hour. A lot of this went off seas, and you're talking to somebody you can't even understand. So, and it's a real life person. So the bots are probably going to be more intuitive than that. And one of the things I love about the one that you played me the other day is, salespeople, for example, or customer service people are very scripted, and sometimes they don't remember the script, or they think they remember the script, and they don't ask the questions that make it much easier for us to help you. So, for example, if we built a bot in real estate that is asking, calling a buyer, then we're asking all the right questions if we're a bot, whereas a real life person may not. And that's not great service for the person who's thinking of buying in the next 2 years or 6 years or 8 years or 10 years. Maybe they're getting ready for retirement and looking in our area, wherever that may be, and, thinking about moving in the future. Well, we need to know that future date. And we know that most human beings, especially in sales, and sometimes definitely customer service, that's here and now. But in sales, people are thinking about here and now, the thing right in front of them, and they may not follow up with you in 2 years' time when you're actually thinking of retiring. And they may not follow up with you in a month to make sure your home search has been set up correctly. Are there any other elements that you want? Maybe one of you now is, having wobbly knees and you don't want stairs anymore, so that search can get changed. And a bot automatically will put the follow-up in place to make sure everything gets taken care of. Is that right?
Absolutely. The bot or AI in general, however it's utilized, right? It does not forget. Now, I want to put a caveat on that it will improve, again, by an order of magnitude over the next 6 months to get exactly what you're talking about. The only limitation it has right now is that there are there's parameters that these companies are putting in the system in place so that it can't remember too much, because their concern is actually that it will remember too much and that will create a problem.
Oh.
But yeah, it's a very real concern. It's just very real, and the greatest thinkers, greatest minds right now are actually addressing that. It's called the alignment issue, where AI needs to be aligned with humanity so it doesn't hurt humanity. Okay, but when it comes to the bots and their ability, or AI and its ability to remember things, it can actually talk. Like we have real estate bots, right? So that they help agents call out to potential clients, et cetera. We have those bots already integrated with texting and email and the calendar so that it can do just what you're talking about. It can set up a reminder 2 years from now, and it will not forget that reminder's there, because it'll look into the future on the calendar and know exactly what they need to do. And there will be very few, if any, errors when it comes to that kind of engagement. You mentioned one thing, Ro, about the voice, and that we were talking about the Indian, they were calling and have somebody from India.
Yeah, that was Charlie from Los Angeles. Thank you, Charlie, if you're listening.
Yeah, so that was that's a real thing. What I find interesting is we've developed our bots is that we actually develop our bots to use ums and uhs and strategic pauses.
Oh my!
One thing we found this, that that it being too perfect is a problem. People don't respond quite as well to it being what we would call too perfect.
Yes,
isn't
makes
that
sense.
crazy?
Yeah.
It's funny, so I can share something in, so a lot of real estate agents, a lot of salespeople have what we call a drip campaign. So it will ping you on text with a number of messages. Hey, so for our hours would be, do you still like your search? Are the properties coming through? Are there any changes you want made? And that's really so that, we can help a much larger number of people. And it's a service. Like, you can just text back and say, well, actually, I've decided I need 4 bedrooms now, or I don't know, I'm getting a divorce and I need 1 bedroom, and cut the price in half, or whatever it is. So it's like having an assistant, that's how I'm seeing it, that can check in with you when, let's face it, especially salespeople and customer service people get too busy. You call into a customer service line, you might be waiting for half an hour. That isn't going to happen with a bot, correct?
That's correct.
Good
I mean, that's
point.
where the sea change is going to happen, especially in sales, or people that have a specific profession that are kind of working by themselves. This bot, or again AI, however they want to interface with it, is now and will be far more capable in the next 6 months, to the point where you'll simply be able to talk to your phone. You won't have to say, "Hey Siri," or anything like that, because Siri is what I would call a 6-month-old baby compared to what you're going to see with a full-grown AI.
Wow.
You'll just be able to talk to him or her, pick a voice you like, pick a name you like, and that person will be your virtual assistant, your AI assistant, and it will become, you will have a difficult time not calling it him or her and seeing them as a relationship that you have.
Well, maybe we'll skip to that in a minute, because there's a whole question on that, which I think is fascinating. I know there are already apps online, Randy, that give you an AI boyfriend. You can build the picture of them, and they're more like a bit of a cartoon, but you can chat with them.
Amazing.
And go, 2:00 in the morning, you call them whatever you want to call them. Maybe you don't have a partner, or I don't know, your partner doesn't talk to you very much or something. So, you can make one. I actually went and played with it, and I wasn't cheating on Randy. I actually called it Randy. And it built this person, and it chats to you. So imagine as that actually goes on. And we've got a direct question about that. So, however, Emma from Chicago, I want to make sure I get you all in turn. So this is the order the questions came in at. Thank you for listening, Emma in Chicago. She says, will robots kill all of our jobs? What do you think to that, Todd? You're really in the hot seat now.
Well, there's a lot of discussion on exactly what that is, right? Because, the internet is not inherently bad or good. People that use the internet for bad or good is the key, right? So with AI, same kind of thing. Robots are advancing by an order of magnitude, hundreds, thousands of times faster now than they were over the last 50 years. It's just no comparison. The strides that we're making in robotics, it's just hard to wrap our minds around. And I think, again, I'm more optimistic. I would say I'm not in the middle, that it's going to destroy the world versus it's going to be our savior. I tend to be about 70% to the good. I really believe we have an opportunity to transform the world in a better way. My gosh, Ro, I just lost my question. What did you just ask me?
It's all right. It happens to me all the time. You see, if you were a bot, you wouldn't be losing the question right now. Emma from Chicago ponders, will robots kill all of our jobs? Thank you for that question, Emma. No, you're all good. Yeah. Thank you for that question, Emma.
Yeah. So robots, they've advanced so much that they're going to be a very, very much a part of our lives everywhere. You're going to see them in the grocery stores and at airports, and very soon, next 5-10 years, you will have a personal bot very likely in your home, and that robot will. You've seen movies. This has all been fiction our entire lives, but it's becoming very much a reality. They will be an ever-present reality in your home. They'll be assisting you. They'll do the chores. I mean, this is real stuff. It's already happening. It also will have a massive impact on business and industry.
So do you mean physical robots that help?
Yeah.
That have the AI built in. So could put your stuff in your dishwasher for you?
Yeah. And again, we were talking about that whole idea of having a relationship with a bot, or with, in a digital sense. The advances are so astonishing. You will be able to have these relationships and feel a very strong emotional connection, both to your digital assistant on your phone and then the real robot in your home.
Well, I want to give Olivia from Houston a shout out here. So Olivia from Houston wonders, will it take over dating? Do they make a good companion? So I did play with one just because I thought it was interesting and I wanted to see what it did. And I think it, again, the good side of that is people who are lonely, people who don't want to reach out about things maybe, can have that companion. And that companion, dare I say it, could actually, I'm going to scare all the therapists out there right now, could be a therapist. So you think about the data bank of therapy that is out there that they can pull on. And it's not just like go to, section VI or something and read this thing back. They're interactive and conversational. So somebody who's feeling suicidal maybe, or somebody who's just, low and not wanting to, hey, maybe they've got a partner that's, I don't know, an alcoholic. And that right now they're on a Facebook group for, alcoholic companions, or maybe they've got a drug problem and they can't tell their friends and family about that. That it could be a companion that helps them through that and gives them all kinds of advice on what to do, where to go, that kind of thing. Maybe even diagnosing different kinds of psychosis. It's scary, isn't it, that companion? What do you think about that?
Oh, yes, it's well on the way. And kind of the genie's out of the bottle, for better or worse, when it comes to that very thing. When it comes to counseling, there are already apps doing that, but people are using ChatGPT. I'm sure most of your listeners are aware of that. There are people already using just basic large language learning models, these AI learning models, to literally speak to ChatGPT and have ChatGPT talk back to them in a relational way about their problems.
Wow, I didn't know that.
If you can imagine a therapist who has a perfect mind and perfect recall, who can access the entirety of therapy and therapeutic philosophy for all of humankind that is digitized.
The best in the world.
They can get that information immediately and come back and give you input. How good would that be?
Wow. That's but it brings up questions like, does that bot or AI share that information with?
Ooh.
Yeah. Who?
Yeah.
Yeah, that comes back to the alignment question, right?
Issue.
Is it a human flourishing? Or can it manipulate us and actually tell us things and lie to us to its own benefit? And that's where you start to get into, a really dark place. But they are very real questions, and they are significant. And it is the major question that the greatest minds right now in AI are thinking about, to the point where 8 months ago, all these leaders and thinkers from all these big companies doing AI, they had an open letter. I think it was signed by 1,000 people.
Oh, I saw that.
We need to slow down on AI and stop moving forward until we get the alignment issue taken care of. Now, that didn't happen, but the fact that letter was written is very telling.
It is very telling. These are the greatest minds who could make an awful lot of money out of this. So the fact they're saying we need to slow down is really quite amazing. And I want to come back to a point you made about the genie being out of the bag already with some of these things. You don't know where it's going. You don't know what you've got till it's gone, right? So it's kind of like, I want to think about screen technology or speaker technology. Screen and battery technology particularly has changed so much in really the last 5 years. So screens became very cheap. Anybody that's gone to buy a TV recently in the last few years know that 80-inch screen that you used to pay $8,000 for, you can now buy for $1,000. If you want to go and buy a decent sized TV for the bedroom or even your main room that's 50 inches or 40 inches, what are you talking about? $250?
Yeah.
And they're interactive and you can screen on them.
Right.
So that's just TVs, right? So all our TVs became cheaper and thinner and everything else and lighter, and you can put them on the wall and see them at different angles. But let's think about what they've done with screens. Screens are fast food restaurants now, you touch screens. They're building screens into everything you could possibly think of. But none of us knew that when screens got really cheap. They just went, oh, great, screens are really cheap. But they're being built into absolutely everything. You can send out mailers now with little screens in them because they're so cheap, with a little video that plays on them. So you don't know until you let the genie out of the bottle how it's going to play out. And I guess that is what that letter was about, Todd. So move slowly, focus on one area, test it for a little while and see what happens. But unfortunately, that little while it moves so quick in AI that a little while, has really got to play out for a year or at least. I mean, I don't know what I'm talking about here. I'm certainly no expert. But I would think you've got to let it run around for a year to find out, and then it might be too late.
Well, we're talking measurable, statistically valid increases in the power and the ability of AI on a daily basis.
Yes.
Okay, so the kinds of changes we're looking at are quite remarkable. I tell this to a lot of people when I do presentations. So walk through this with me just for a few minutes. In 1996, do you guys remember the Motorola StarTAC, that
Oh, yeah.
phone it was the first foldable phone?
Yes.
Right.
You do? Right. So that was about a fourth of the price of that big phone people used to carry around before that.
In the briefcase.
It was remarkable
bag
technology.
Yeah.
That was in 1996. And then in 2007, Steve Jobs pulls out the iPhone, right? Does a presentation of the iPhone, $750, $1 million worth of software on board that thing. More tech inside the iPhone 1 than in the entire Apollo moon landing.
Wow.
Okay? More tech in the phone than it took to get the first men to the moon. It's got cameras, apps, internet access, and all that. Then in 2014, 7 years later, comes the Apple Watch. The price is going down dramatically. The size of the technology is getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and the potential of it using AI is going up by 10-fold, 100-fold, 1,000-fold within 12 months. That's the kind of change we're seeing.
Yeah. We saw prices of screens drop 50% every year they were dropping. But we're talking about, in half a day, AI is quadrupling, 1,000-timesing its capabilities, becoming more human, or human-like, not becoming more human. That sounds really creepy. Gosh, we could talk about this all day, Todd. I want to get back to the questions, make sure we get the people who've taken the time to put these in. We didn't talk about Emma from Chicago killing all of our jobs because, unlike a bot, we went down left field, both you and me. So I want to come back to that a little bit. I think maybe it will create other jobs and jobs will be different. I mean, we've already got robots in medicine, but we've had robots in medicine for a very long time. However, we still have surgeons. I wonder if the robots took away any of the jobs of surgeons. They still seem to be really busy.
I had robotic surgery less than a year ago.
Wow.
But the surgeon was controlling the
Yes.
robot.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So I think the answer to that question, probably why we both skipped it, is we don't know right now. So newscasters are talking about this all the time. If you watch TV and any of the news shows, they're saying, well, what will happen to journalism? What about writing stories? And that's kind of interesting in itself because you can go into ChatGPT, for example, and say, write me a news article with this bent. So if your audience is older, for example, you can say, give me a news story based on the environment with an angle towards demographics of people that are 60 and older or 40, between 40 and 60, whatever it is, that do or don't agree, choose one, with environmental changes. And it will spew out that story with that angle without somebody having to get up at 4 a.m. in the morning and writing it. So I think journalists are very worried. Do you have any insight on that, Todd? I'm putting you on the seat here.
Yeah, it will just every profession in almost equal ways. Goldman Sachs actually said that in the next 5 years, 300 million jobs will be lost or diminished by AI. Now, and that's in the U.S. and the European Union. There are nearly 900 million, almost a billion jobs in the EU and the U.S. That means that 1 out of every 3 will be impacted in a negative way with AI.
So if you're younger right now or you have children or grandchildren, I guess what we should be thinking about, which we've had a massive shift towards, I think, in perhaps the last 5 years, are the trades. So, and the trades, interestingly, have paid more and more and more in that period of time, certainly in the last 10 years. So I think people are saying to their kids things like, go learn to be a plumber.
Yeah.
Go learn to work in construction. Go learn to do physical jobs, because we can't say they won't ever be replaced either, but they'll be the last to go. I mean, do you really want a robot in your house fixing under the sink? I don't know. So I think people are turning to the trades and where you're hands-on. So, I'm thinking about my profession, real estate agents. There's already a company out there that is putting a lockbox on and you just let somebody wander around your house. I think that's creepy, frankly. I think people want a real-life person and they will pay a little bit more money for it, or have it, built into the sales in some way, which it really is now. We won't get into the whole lawsuit going on around that for buyer's agents, but that's how it is now. Most people prefer someone to open the door and have local knowledge about what's going on in the market and everything else. So what do you think about that? Like the actual physical jobs, I think, whatever those physical jobs are, where you're going out, meeting people, we call it belly to belly, will be the last to go. So if I were younger right now, I think I'd maybe be thinking about that. I think I'd think hard and fast about going into journalism. I definitely would think about going into an AI company, no doubt. In fact, I'm fascinated by it, so I want some shares in your company, Todd. But I'd also think if I were advising my grandkids or kids, or for our younger listeners, think about things you can do where a robot's going to be last on the list. And will it take over one day? Maybe. We don't know. Imagine if you could hear this broadcast in 100 years. It would be so funny. I guess you will be able to.
You will be.
Podcast, yeah. But, is there something in that? Because you can be a plumber making six figures quite easily.
Yeah, so there's a lot of discussion on this in reference to jobs and the shifts that are coming with artificial intelligence. The trades, you are correct. We don't know how long that will stay, but over the next few years, I believe that's a safe bet. The problem is when you try to build a career out of something, really across the board, based on your perspective on AI, right? So at some point we have to make a choice. At some point we have to pick a career. So I think in a lot of ways, and I've read a lot on this, that the trades are very strong in the kind of the medium term, like 3 to 5, 6 years. But those changes with robots are coming as well. They just are. And then I would tell young people, trades are an option, but really focusing in on what is last to go in human interaction, like you were just saying, right? So real estate, although I think that the real estate industry as a whole is going to change where it is utterly unrecognizable in the next 24 to 36 months, like many professions. And then I also tell young people all the time, I go, just lean into AI. That's the bottom line. If you're going to educate yourself and go to what I think is a largely, and I get pushback on this all the time, I think undergraduate degrees are going to be, and largely are currently, irrelevant. The kind of education you can receive online in the area of interest is far greater. And when AI starts to become part of that, it's just going to take over the educational system, and I think in a positive way.
Yes.
But I tell people all the time, young people, get into tech, get into AI, lean into it, become an expert in a specific sector, real estate, law, whatever it is, and lean into the AI reality there and use your education to better yourself in that area to get ahead.
I'm looking at the low risk of automation jobs with the highest projected growth by 2032. So that gives us 6, 7, 8 years. Nurse practitioner is number one, 45.7% growth. And that's because people, exactly what we started talking about, you don't get to see the doctor. It was the question earlier. Choreographers, that's interesting, 29.7% growth. How interesting. Physician assistants, same thing as the nurse practitioners, I think. 27%, nearly 28% growth they're forecasting. So this is growth in job markets that they're forecasting. Mental health practitioners, 22.1. Nursing instructors and teachers post-secondary, 21.5. Coaches and scouts, 20%. Like, it'd be kind of weird having a bot, help your kids with Little League. Athletic trainers, nearly 18% growth in that job. Physical therapists, I have a very good friend, Lydia Rella. I'll give her a shout out here. Actually, she just got married. Sorry, I used her maiden name. I was in her wedding a few weeks ago. Physical therapists, nearly 17% growth. Orthodontists and prosthetists. I don't know if I can...
Yeah.
It's one of those. 17%. Occupational therapists. So many of those in medical, which is Very interesting. I've got a whole list of them. If you want it, go and post on my Facebook page. I will send that list out to you. Chief executives, there's another interesting one. Fish and game wardens, yeah, that'd be kind of hard to replace. So there are lots of them. You can Google it or just go look me up, Rowena Patton, comment on the post about the show today. You can put questions in there. You can ask for whatever you want, and I'll DM it over to you on Facebook. Most of you have got Facebook. It's on Instagram and all the others as well. So there's 65 jobs with the lowest risk of automation. I'd be happy to get that list out to you. So, I think for most people's lifetimes, so you're thinking about somebody that's 20 now, they're going to be working for 40 years, or maybe most people want to retire earlier, 30 years, and probably there'll be an awful lot of jobs around. Let's face it, your dad will tell you, or your grandparents certainly will tell you, that they used to have a job for life. That went away a long time ago. We have to reinvent themselves. Oh my gosh, I think about me. So going through college, I cleaned narrow boats like canal barges. I worked in, all kinds of part-time jobs, retail jobs. And then I worked for a marketing company, and then started a marketing company and a PR company and a photographic company for 10 years. I was a management consultant for 8 years. Internationally, it's probably the most fun I've had in my career, or certainly took me to a whole other level. I wouldn't necessarily say the most fun. Sorry, guys, if I worked with you. And then real estate, which, even in real estate, you have to keep reinventing yourself. So I was out in the field helping buyers and sellers back in 2007. We went through, the economic cycle, good old Clement Jouglas, 7 to 11 years. We go down for 3.5 to 5.5 years. We're in that cycle now. And then we go up for 3.5 to 5.5 years. We'll be in that in 3.5 to 5.5 years, where prices are going back up again. It's a normal cycle. It's been going on since 1860. So I started training and coaching, which is really my love, back in 2008. I've taught in 60 different offices around the country. And now we're in cash CPO. We've reinvented again, where we do full market value cash offers. And, people don't have to have showings. It's a full market value offer. You get 70%, big cash advance at 70% within 12 days. You don't have to have a contingent purchase on your new home. If you're going into assisted living, you can put your money down right away. You're not scared of that. We use our funding partners' money to refresh your home, and then you get, on average, another 20 to 50% on top. So 2/3 of the sellers get more money. It's a complete reinvention of real estate, and we've got 1,100 agents doing it around the country. I should mention I'm Rowena Patton, all-star powerhouse, brokered by EXP. When I say that, I have to do that. So what do you think about the reinvention, Todd?
Well, I think we're going to have to be very nimble in the coming economy over the next 3 to 5 years. So I said 60 months is really the outside of it. I would tell people that I think the most important thing they can do in whatever profession they're in is to lean into AI education, educate themselves, and become a daily learner in regard to AI in their particular profession, if they're interested in staying in that profession for a long time. But I also do think there are going to be some major disruptions in certain areas that require people to make very, very fast changes in their career trajectory, or they're going to miss out, right? It's going to be very challenging. So the education component in your industry, your field, is a key. If a person chooses not to be proactive, I think it will be a very detrimental and kind of a negative impact on their careers and their trajectory moving forward, their ability to make money. Or they can lean into it, understand it, utilize it, leverage it for their business, and have a massive impact in a positive way, get them ahead of the game. So,
I love that. So, so we think about a nurse practitioner, for example. AI can take the questions from the person sitting there, or AI, the bot or the very human-like person could be, you wait a very long time, especially when sometimes even in the emergency room, you wait a very long time. And imagine having that AI bot that can do the intake, and then you meet with the nurse practitioner. So a lot of the questions would be answered already, saving them a lot of time and allowing them to meet with many more patients with, some bullet points of what's gone over already, written in something that. So you go into the ER or you go in to urgent care, say, and you're saying, I don't know, I'm having these symptoms and this is going on, and oh my gosh, my brother just passed away, so it may be stress, and you're just saying all this stuff that is not organized, especially as somebody in distress. And the bot basically interacts with you in a human-like way and organizes all those thoughts and takes out the ones that aren't necessary, and then feeds them in a very organized way that a nurse practitioner or a doctor or surgeon or whomever is seeing you, let's face it, it's going to be the people on the front line at that point, so that they can very quickly ask you the right questions to make sure they're getting it right to the best of their ability. But now it takes 5 minutes instead of 15 minutes for them because the bot's already done it. That allows that medical establishment to A, make a lot more money. So guys, you got to be looking into this, right? And B, see a lot more patients. That makes them a lot more money. C, quite possibly diagnose people faster and more accurately. What do you think? I mean, that's not taking jobs, right? That's assisting the jobs.
I'm sorry.
That's assisting the jobs and improving, what's in place already. So the same thing with actually, so if you think about, let's think about a trade. A lot of this is an assistant place. So, you've got a plumbing assistant that's going out because nobody else is there and somebody's got a leak. So now you can send somebody out that's got that assistant, and the assistant even is going to be able to look at images. They can do that already, right? Has anybody used Google Scanner and it can look at an image and go through its database of millions of things? So you take a picture of it underneath and, you interact with the real life person that knows everything about, not real life person, sorry, human-like bot that knows everything about plumbing. And you're telling them everything that's going on along with the homeowner that's standing there with you. And it gets diagnosed very quickly, if you like. The plumbing problem gets diagnosed. And then whether you've got the parts in stock get diagnosed, or it tells you to go to box 631 in your plumbing van and get that piece out, and then what to do next step by step. That's an assistant that can help you fix the problem much faster. I mean,
absolutely. That's what we're going to get into over the next couple of years, is that kind of commingling of human and AI interaction with medicine or whatever that might be. What they're doing, we already have this technology, but when you apply AI to the diagnosis, it's quite remarkable. We have an Apple Watch, for example. What we're going to be continuing to do is improve that kind of technology where much of the diagnostic effort in a person's, whatever their symptoms are, the diagnostic ability of an Apple Watch connected to the internet, which connects to the physician's office, is going to be quite remarkable. So 90%, 95% of the diagnostic efforts for a given condition or a person not feeling well is going to be handled by just having something on our body that already tells the physician what needs to be done. And and actually more often than going to the physician, eventually this will be approved where AI can read the Apple Watch, go ahead and actually diagnose you.
Aren't drug companies fighting that, though? Won't they make a lot less money? I guess it could be used both ways,
Yeah.
Yeah, the legal battles, here's the challenge.
Haven't even started.
We're not going to be able to keep up with that. The technology is outpacing our legal system already by leaps and bounds. And that's the biggest concern, that this technology will expand so fast, we simply will not any longer be able to catch up to the changes.
We have about 6 minutes left and 3 more questions. One is, will it take over the world? So I think we're covering that as we go. But thank you, James from Seattle, for sending that one in. Lawyers, think about how long lawyers take to research everything. Imagine putting that into a massive database where you talk to a bot to do the intake, and it's like the assistant, but it's not just a legal assistant. It knows the best legal questions and the legal precedents that are worldwide, or in your jurisdiction, or the federal level of that. Imagine how fast it could get through your case. Imagine when you spend $350 to go and see the attorney for the first meeting. What if you didn't have to do that and you're just talking to a legal bot and you say, well, listen, this is what's going on with my life. I'm divorcing my wife. We've got 2 children, and it interacts with you and asks all the right questions, which a lot of people don't. I want to make sure, so the legal implications there are pretty amazing. I want to make sure we get these other 2 questions in. And again, thank you. Grace from Miami asks, how will AI affect the education system? Will our kids be taught by bots? Online stuff was so bad in COVID. This is very different from online stuff, isn't it?
Yes, the interactive capability of AI right now is just, again, it's just at the beginnings. In the next 12 months, I talk about this. People will go, no, it's going to take 3 years. Well, either way, it's a blink of an eye.
Yes. We're going to do another show in 6 months and see how much, we're going to do the same questions and see how much it's changed. So think about that for a minute. My brain likes to be creative. I can't help it. I'm sorry. So think about homeschoolers. Instead of your kids going on and following modules, which are very well done, I have online modules. Imagine if you could have a hologram of a teacher there, of the kind of teacher that they would like, i.e. they describe it, and the teacher interacts with you. Again, of the best minds in history, if it's a history class, and they can teach you all the different lessons, or you can have 12 different teachers throughout the day. Like, that could be very interesting. I just want to make sure we get to these 2 in our last couple of minutes here. How did that happen, Todd? So Ethan from Boston asks, what will AI do to the future of work? I think we've covered that one from you, Ethan. If not, go look me up, Rowena Patton on Facebook, and just post the comment under there. I'd love to hear your comments on today's show. We've got Sophie from Atlanta raises concerns. What are the ethical considerations with bots, and will they destroy human beings one day? I think we've covered that in the alignment piece. So roll us up, Todd. We've got another minute. Oh, my gosh. It's been so fascinating today. Thank you so much. If anybody wants to know more about AI or interview him as an expert or know more about this company and what they're doing, contact me, mountainhomehunt.com, mountainhomehunt.com. Click on contact and I'll put all your details across to Todd. So what are your final thoughts on this, Todd? We've got about a minute left.
Sure, Rose. First of all, thanks for inviting me on your show. This has been exciting. I'm looking forward to potentially having some more time, 6 or 12 months down the road to see where we really are and listen back on the conversation we had, right? So it's very exciting for me. I just would really encourage people to choose to think optimistically. Just choose to. I'm very optimistic in the sense that I believe AI is going to have a massive impact on humanity in a very positive way. So that's number 1. Number 2, learn. Educate yourself. Read daily about AI. I know that might be overwhelming, but look, you're not going to lose your job to AI. You're going to lose your job to someone who leverages AI.
Yes.
And
I totally agree with that.
So educating yourself is probably the most important thing. So anyway, those 2 things are important. Thanks again.
Thank you so much. And we'll have an AI bot that teaches us about AI very soon in the industry or the things that we care about. Thank you so much, Todd. That was absolutely amazing. Rowena Patton here on the Real Estate News Radio Show. I bring all kinds of topics and things that you ask me for. Thank you for listening today. Happy Christmas, everybody. We'll see you next week.
This has been the Plain English Real Estate Show with Rowena Patton. Visit Rowena and post your questions at radioasheville.com or call her at 828-210-1648.